Welcome to Manager's Mantra, where India's top business leaders share the lessons behind their leadership journeys. In this episode, we sit down with Abhishek Chakraborty, CEO of DTDC Express Limited, one of India's leading logistics and express delivery companies. From transforming a legacy business into a modern, tech driven enterprise to empowering women led teams and redefining logistics for the e commerce era, Abhishek shares how vision, perseverance, and adaptability drive success in a rapidly evolving industry. So, let's begin. So, welcome, Abhishek. Thank you so much for joining us on Manager's Mantra. We are very excited for this interview.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here with you today.
Amazing. So I'm going to begin with the first question,
Yeah.
which is, how did your IIM Bangalore experience, the whole MBA experience, shape your approach to leadership and business building?
Yeah, Garima, that if I look back at the time that I was there, that's literally going to be about 20 years ago in a year's time, and sometimes memory tends to fade, and you try to join the dots later on, and how your career panned out, and what you thought you wanted to do, and where you ultimately ended up, finding your career. But I can certainly tell you that some of the highlights that I remember, and when I joined the dots, and I see that it certainly made a lot of sense. For me, the most important aspect, apart from the technical knowledge and know-how that a good B school provides you, I think it's the first thing. It would be the networking, because that was my first exposure ever of meeting so many people from such different backgrounds. And you can imagine that those who get into certain B schools, you more or less, you come from good background, you've done good education, you tend to do well in your respective educational academic streams, and you tend to think that you know it all, right? Sometimes, but when you come to a place like that and see the absolute richness of talent and people from such different and diverse backgrounds, all of them bringing such wonderful perspectives, I think the ability to connect with them is one of the first learnings that I took away. And it really helped me. And I look back at my life later on, is that if you want to grow your network, you want to grow your business, you want to do anything where you want to have an impact, I think being able to connect with that network and expand your network is very, very important. And that comes from having appreciation of that diversity. So for me, that diverse group of people and what I learned from them, I think was very, very special. From an institutional perspective, I think the aspect which stayed with me for the longest period of time, I think the rigor that a school like IIM Bangalore brings to the table. At the same time, the level of independence it expects you to have as an individual in trying to chart your own path within that rigor academic structure, and therefore find your right way, I think was amazing. And I'll substantiate by saying, generally in IIM Bangalore, when you do the PGP program, there is no specialization as such.
Right.
Yet, with the way the courses are created, the choices that they provide, the kind of groups and cohorts with which you tend to do the projects and other activities, you effectively can chart out a certain path towards where you want to go. And of course, it's all self-dependent. There's no professor who's going to come and tell you. I think by the time you join an IIM, I think you've reached a level where even your parents, unless they themselves have come from such a background, which wasn't the case in for me, you've already reached a level where you cannot seek advice from them, that should I go this course or should I do that. So it's you, your institution, your professors, your colleagues, your batchmates that come together, but it definitely brings a fantastic sense of independence in you. And of course, last but not the least, I think what I remember most is the focus on excellence, a real deep rooted culture of excellence. The pedagogy that is taught over there, the professors and the commitment that they put in, the kind of engagement that they create to make the courses interesting. Knowing that you might be, for example, my career has largely been forged in the supply chain space, but I had a lot of interest in finance courses and I did a lot of work over there. But even when I did finance or I did supply chain, I think the level of commitment and the way the professors and the whole school brought things to you and exposed you to ideas and concepts and case studies and challenged you, I think that's what brought in a very, very strong sense of excellence in me. And maybe that I can say has carried through. So these three things: the power of networking, the power of understanding that you've got to be dependent on yourself, and of course the drive for excellence. I think these three things is something I would always credit IIM Bangalore with giving me.
That's amazing. So basically, the whole experience not just, trains you to be a, professional, but I guess also, is that transition from, like a child, no, I would
Yes,
child,
yes.
but to an adult.
A real professional. Yes, you're right.
Yeah,
I think it's that real, that spark that you need to move away from being just a student to
right.
learning how to be a professional. I think very well put by you. But yeah, the jump from student to professional did happen because of that journey that I had.
That's amazing. Now, coming to your current role, first of all, DTDC has turned 35 this year. So,
Yeah.
congratulations on
Thank
that.
you. Thank you so much.
But, when you joined the company, you were stepping up into a legacy business. So, what was the hardest part about modernizing an established company? And what was the most rewarding part of it as well?
I think and when we look at people who join generational businesses and family businesses, there are always two parts to that story. One is the willingness to be a part of it, because quite often you've had a fairly privileged life to some extent, definitely more privileged than your previous generation. You've also exposed to many things around the world.
Mhm.
What that means is that the same circumstances and challenges of the original founder are not necessarily the challenges that you are going to face.
Right.
And the other aspect is that you will want to see the business with a different pair of eyes, because you've had the other exposure, and you've it's not something you've done every day till you got to that point. And these both these perspectives, I think, for me, played a very important role. And why I'm saying this is, whether when you call it the hardest part, for me the hardest part was, first of all, the fact that I needed to understand that no matter how many different things we had learned, or
Mhm.
different concepts that were already beginning to develop, whether in supply chain or in businesses in general, the
Right.
hard work and humility you would need to have to once again roll up your sleeves, start from the bottom of the pyramid, work with the grassroots levels, understand and connect with the people that made the organization special even back then. I think that to me was the hardest part, not because it was difficult to do, but because convincing oneself that you won't be exactly picking up from where you did with an MBA or your first job. You will go in a very different direction. But this itself is a learning of a different kind. It's not the kind of learning that can be taught in a classroom environment. It can only happen with real people in real situations, with real concerns and real challenges that you have to address. So for me, that switch
Mhm.
was probably the hardest, but I feel so happy. It was the most critical learning that I needed to have. It was the most foundational piece of my growth story. And of course, with that opportunity that I got, I could go deep into the business, I could ask questions, I could literally, kind of pick and choose almost all the areas where I wanted to explore. And a good 4 to 5 years of my first part of my journey was literally trying out hands in many things,
Mhm.
learning things, being a sponge, absorbing it. But all through that, I always was building for myself a vision of where I would like to see the organization, the
Mhm.
kind of modernization that I'd like to bring in, the kind of talent, the kind of culture. Of course, technology being a ever prevalent thing in the last 10 to 15 years. And the good part is I got that freedom not only from the business, from the first generation, but also from my board. And we have a fairly large corporate and international governed board, and to
Mhm.
get the support from them as a professional to go and do all of those things. Of course, with my fair share of mistakes made, but to see where we are today, to have grown about 12 and a half times from the size that we were when we were, the growth in our partners, the growth in our employees, the scale of businesses that we've now gotten into and what we are trying to get into. I think that is the sweetest part. So then, when you look back at the 16-year journey, you feel, I'm not saying satisfied. I'm always someone who feels there's so much more to do, but you feel like all that effort was definitely for building something great, and you can do so much more with it.
Right, that's amazing. So basically, the hardest part was also something that, in the future became the most rewarding. Will I be right to say that?
At least the key to success, I would say. It's the key to success, and therefore that hardships, those hard work trying to get to and like I'll tell you, just as you said it, one of the hardest things is for when you talk to people, to make them understand that they don't need to treat you any special. They
Right.
don't need to handle you with kid gloves. They just need to treat you like you're another person in your role, treat you like a friend, treat you like a colleague. And the fact that I could achieve that within the first 1 to 2 years of my presence, I thought that really helped me. because people then saw me as an individual, as a professional. It's incidental that I happened to be a second generation, but it was more important that they saw me as a professional.
That's amazing. Now, coming to the fact that India's e-commerce and D2C sector is
Yeah.
exploding at this
Yeah.
point. Okay. So how do you stay ahead of consumer expectations and the fulfillment challenges that come along with it?
Yeah. I think India's e-commerce and D2C success has been pivotal. And I think in the post-COVID era, the logistics
Yeah.
and supply chain industry really exploding the way it has in India has been, I think, to a great extent because of this change.
Right.
So for us, two things had become quite clear in 2020-21 when we were kind of relooking at our entire approach towards e-commerce.
Okay.
One is that we clearly could see that e-commerce was finally going to become mainstream and grassroots rather than only being limited to the elite or the metropolitan citizens, right? That's the first thing that was quite clear to us. The second thing that was clear to us was technology. The fact that without cracking the technological piece, getting the systems and processes in place, and of course the applications and the customer consumer facing things right, it would not be possible to capture this part of the business, because for a longest time the logistics industry could handle many things only manually, whereas in e-commerce and D2C everything has to be digital to begin with. So that was, I think, the second big thing that really I thought shifted the curve. And the last big change which I've seen in the last couple of years has been the understanding that suddenly convenience has become the currency, and consumers are really, really ready to pay the premiums for that convenience. Whether that convenience comes in terms of the assortment of products that they want, whether it comes in terms of the speed at which those products need to come to them. I think both of those categories have really made it front and center. And thus, keeping all these three things in mind, few of the things which we've done, which we believe have made us quite ahead of the curve in terms of our e-commerce capabilities, is first and foremost, we were very focused that we wanted to build our e-commerce logistics piece around D2C brands.
Okay.
So you have marketplaces, you have various other formats in which e-commerce gets done. But we were very clear that while almost anybody and everybody can handle the marketplace scenario, because marketplaces themselves are pretty large organizations with significant clout, but also they've got their own, logistical behemoths that they run. But we realized that the D2C universe of sellers, social commerce people, they did not have access to the same kind of technology and processes. So we took it upon ourselves to build our systems, whether our applications like my DTDC, the AI that we have blended into our systems today. So we have our own AI. It's called Diva. Diva stands for DTDC Interactive Virtual Assistant. It's now in its 2.0 version, which means now any consumer, whether you're a business or an individual, when you interact with us, you can answer a lot of queries directly. You will not need to actually interact with human beings. Your digital processes and flows are very, very smooth, and that is something was built around the D2C persona, the social commerce persona. I mean, our goal was that if some housewife somewhere sitting has a dream that she wants to start a business on her own because she's talented and capable, we should be the enablers for that dream. And that has really, really worked well for us. We've seen phenomenal growth, and all 90%, 95% of our business is mainly coming from this D2C social commerce segment. Last but not the least, I think the next big jump is what we've just launched. It's our rapid commerce business. So we've understood that, again, with that convenience part in mind and speed being in mind, we understand that while there is quick commerce, which is 10-minute kind of delivery, which is perfect for groceries and things like that, but there's this big category today, which is a 2-hour, 4-hour, same-day delivery, which lots of brands want to offer to their consumers, but they cannot build an entire supply chain for it. But with logistics players like us creating a mechanism through which multiple players can leverage it and give that access to the sellers, but also ultimately give that convenience to the end consumers. That rapid commerce business of ours, our latest launch, is now really, really growing up at a very fast pace. So overall, keeping those three things in mind, the way we've used technology, the way we've used processes, and our focus, I think has really allowed us to stay ahead of the curve in e-commerce and D2C business.
That's amazing. And I think this is a complete playbook into, how a legacy business, an established business actually adapts to changes, technological changes,
Yeah,
and grows with time. This is
absolutely.
definitely something everyone can learn from. So that's amazing. Now, coming to the international side of DTDC, which is also, I think over 20 years old now.
25, actually, 25. We're
25.
celebrating
Yes.
25 years this year. Yeah.
That is amazing. So,
Yeah.
what has been your biggest challenge while scaling DTDC's international logistic business as well?
A great question, Garima, because you can imagine, and I really give credit to my father and the generation of people who started the international business within the overall piece in 2000. Because you can imagine in 2000, we were a 10-year-old company.
Mm-hmm.
And the challenge at that point for us was twofold. One, we were just about finding our feet in the domestic space and starting to make inroads and really, growing in size. At the
Right.
same time, with the liberalization that India had almost seen for about close to a decade at around that time, you
Mm-hmm.
already had a lot of global majors that had started coming in, setting up their shop, and serious growth was beginning to happen.
Right.
So our number one challenge back then when we started the international business, or the read to start the international business itself, was that if we did not give our customers the option of international exports, imports, and those solutions, even though would have been a good domestic player, we
Mm-hmm.
would possibly be risking our market share to these larger players who not only had international very big strengths, but they also had domestic access to certain companies, or they were already invested in those businesses. So you can say that our international journey began probably a simple survival or a need to offer options to our customers so that we don't lose market share. But over a period of time, what we realized is that in India, international business growth was going to kick in. We could see that happening in the early 2000s. In the mid 2000 or early to mid 2010s, we could finally see a lot of regulations and processes that were changing to help export grow as well. India used to always be an importing nation, but finally the focus towards export came in the last 10, 11 years in the current government. You have seen a massive boost to that piece.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, what we've had to maintain throughout this journey is to see to it that are we designing an international product that can truly allow our customers, especially brands that have otherwise been domestic customers or domestic players who have dreams or vision of trying to sell their products across the world, can we take them in all those countries? We also realize another challenge, that while there are some massive global giants in the international space, we understood a opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
The Indian and South Asian diaspora, if you look at it, and I'm talking about the global South as they call it, whether it's India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, the Middle East, and some of the other Southeast Asian pieces as well.
Right.
We realize that these communities have a very strong community impact when it comes to trade, whether it is individual to individual or business to individual or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And we understood that nobody's products were tailored towards this community, right? And we knew that as being a quintessential Indian company, and the fact that we had gone ahead and created our presence in Canada, USA, UK, Middle East, Singapore, Malaysia, and Australia as well, we understood that the key Indian South Asian diaspora is something we understand very well and we were able to touch very well. So as a result, a combination of going after the right set of customers who really wanted access and knowledge to international services because they had never done it, and also who wanted very cost effective solutions, but on the other end tying it up with our global presence, which allowed us to be a very visible and very well connected South Asian Indian diaspora company. I think these two challenges were the ones that we picked on. We built our services around it. We tailored our story, we tailored our products, we tailored our offering also around it. And therefore, what we've seen in the last 4 to 5 years as really India's international preeminence and success is now being seen, we could see that a lot of our customers have been able to grow with us. And we now, see very strong, high double-digit growth in our international business. But the potential is so much more. And just to give you a fact, from where it was way back when, but today about 21% of our entire business actually comes from our international business.
Wow.
And we are quite proud that we are the only real Indian multinational company in our industry. There are, of course, MNC companies in our industry, but very few Indian origin companies that have gone all over the world and set up business and are still continuing to grow.
That's amazing. I'm sure that's very inspiring for a lot of our viewers.
Yeah,
And talking about our viewers, many B schoolers today, they want to, join startups or
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
build one, right?
yeah.
So what should they understand about building and scaling in traditional sectors like logistics?
See, I think these sectors, which we call traditional sectors, the primary reason we call them traditional is twofold. One, they have been around for a long time. They are very fundamental to the fabric of how economy and a nation works.
Right.
At the same time, there is still high level of fragmentation.
Mm-hmm.
There is still a lot of modernization that is yet to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look into it, the distributed nature of these industry and businesses means that there are various unique and interesting problems and pockets of gaps or opportunities for excellence that exist. The key, I think, for anybody new who's trying to make their feet or find their feet in the supply chain industry, logistics industry in India,
Mm-hmm.
is a find that good sweet spot of a good problem to go after. And I think there are plenty of them. But that comes with another understanding that this industry, while technology is really helping it, and it's probably predominantly becoming a tech driven industry, but I
Yes.
think the human side of it needs to be understood very well.
Mm-hmm.
The concerns, because our industry is one of the largest employers of blue collar workforce. Now, as
Right.
you know, for blue collar workforce, gig workers, whichever way you call it,
Yes.
their needs, requirements, their challenges, their opportunities are very different. So
Right.
it's not only technology that allows you to solve for that. I think there has to be a human angle to it. There has to be a lot of application of ideas, which may be borrowed from sometimes different constructs as well.
Mm-hmm.
And only when a organization or a bunch of individuals can do that job of a picking the right problem, going deep into the grassroots, studying the problem end to end, understanding the stakeholder challenges that exist in that problem, especially in our case the grassroots level challenges with blue collars and gig workers, that level, and then say here is how I'm going to solve for it. Of course I will use technology, but my technology will respond better to my consumers because it is designed around them rather than the other way around. A lot of the industries sometimes think launch a technology,
Mm-hmm.
people will mold themselves around it, right? Like in the case of UPI, for example, I feel
Yes.
because there was demonetization, there was such a huge incentive. So the technology of UPI was otherwise not natural, but then we all jumped onto the bandwagon because there was no other way to survive. But for a startup doing it for the first time, you're not going to get that kind of immediate backing. But if you build your process and technology around the real stakeholders and
Mm-hmm.
addressing their needs, then I think the uptake in this industry can be quite large because it's a very vast industry. It's still very little part of it is organized, and there are some very interesting problems that are yet looking to be solved in this space.
Yeah, that was thank you so much for that. It was a very fresh perspective, but I think a very necessary perspective for any tech-based business. So talking a little bit about another fresh step that DTDC took maybe recently was, you know, you opened an all-women operated DTDC branch in Thane. Now,
Yeah.
I wanted to understand, what motivated you to take this step.
Well, I'll tell you a slightly lighter side of that story, but I'll then also add the more pertinent business part of it.
Sure.
See, in my family, and I'm talking about my immediate family,
Hmm.
there are only three men and there are six women.
Oh,
So
wow.
as I've grown up and I've been in the professional life, but also balanced my personal life, I think I've had the privilege, honestly, I've had the privilege to seeing the perspective of women and the impact that women can create in
Right.
decision making, in execution,
Hmm.
in action, in their integrity levels. I think it's unbelievable.
Hmm.
And as I have grown into my own leadership style and I've interacted with larger teams and across the world, I always had this feeling that our industry was unfortunately or fortunately very, very male dominated. What that meant is that you would have the same kind of ideas, you have the same kind of solutions being suggested to the same kind of problems.
Right.
And that meant that we needed to break the clutter.
Hmm.
And I felt that when I, one end, I could see that the women that we had in our organization were making a serious impact. I also, on the other hand, saw that and when there is a real crunch of talent and quality, I could see there was huge levels of attrition that I was observing otherwise, when most branches of ours used to still be male dominated. So I took a chance. I worked with my HR organization, with my leadership team, and I said, guys, let's do one thing. I know it's not about just a symbolism and just putting it as a poster, but is it possible at its most extreme end we can have a branch which otherwise has always for so many years only been run by men? Can we have women run it? Let's figure out how difficult is it to do it vis-a-vis, if we can provide them support, can we also observe, are they making some serious differences in the way they are approaching the problems compared to how the traditionally problems have been approached?
Right.
That to me was honestly the inspiration. Thane was in fact the third all-women branch that we opened in last year, and now this year we'll be completing 10 branches. But our experience so far showed us very clearly that yes, few areas needed a bit of support, and they were very what can I say, areas that can easily be provided for example, a few extra resources to be provided, because sometimes you're dealing with slightly heavier cargo and things like that, which might only be a matter of physicality. But when
Yeah.
it came to the matter of application, when
Mhm.
it came to the matter of problem solving, when it came to the matter of discipline, and of course attrition, I think our all women branches are beating all other branches hands down. We are seeing fantastic service quality results. Our
Mhm.
customers are super happy because they are always treated nicely. Even when we have some not so great news to share with customers, because sometimes you have to tell them, we might have made a mistake or something is delayed. But the way the women handle it, it means the most, difficult customer also, they can be calmed down much better. And honestly, the responsiveness, the ability to come back stronger after learning from mistakes, I think has been tremendously good. And honestly, that extra caring, loving nature that women can bring to anything that they do in life is something we see. So great camaraderie, bonding. And the best part for me, the high point is, it's not that men don't work over there. We have got channel partners, we've got customers, we've got other employees. Sometimes our riders who deliver are also men. But
Right.
I did run a survey with them and I said, do you guys face any difficulty? Do you feel any, bias or something? And they said, no. We actually find that everything is much better. And they themselves said, even the other men have all become better in their discipline, in their behavior, in their approach to each other. And so the men are themselves saying, we would more want this kind of an approach to be taken, because it just means a more happy win-win situation and an altogether great environment. So yes, I think my dream is that, as we look into the future, next 4 to 5 years, at least one-fourth of our operating workforce should also be women. And in management, though, if I was given a choice, and of course I am given a choice, but it's a time when I build it, I would like to see at least one out of every three people in my management team also to be women, because I think it just is a fantastic thing. It's not a biased thing, but I think it's a thing that really, really works. And I'm sure that will only make the men who are there even better, even stronger, and even greater in achieving whatever they want to achieve.
That is fabulous. And I guess, the very first point that you made, that when, a customer base is diverse,
Yeah.
I think you
Yeah.
also need diverse management and,
Absolutely.
just generally
Absolutely.
diverse workforce to deal with them.
Absolutely.
That is, this has definitely made my day if
Yeah.
I
Great.
know
Great.
about
Thank
others.
you. Thank you.
But yeah, thank you for that. Now, my next question is a little more personal to you. You made it to Fortune India's 40 under 40 list.
Right. Right.
Congratulations for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, but what do you think are the traits or the, personality traits basically that you believe that helped you get there?
It's a very tough one to answer, because these are not one of those things that they judge you and they tell you exactly what was your score and how you compared.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, it's a very humbling recognition that you get, and I think if I were to look at it, and I'm not sure that's the only reason why they would have selected me for it, but if I look back at my own journey, try to be a little bit objective about what I did right.
Mhm.
I think the first thing is, it's kind of connected to a previous answer that I gave. The ability that I had to see through
Mhm.
all the changes and all the developments that I initiated, not outsource it to somebody else, but to say that I'll be the one leading it, working with my teams, implementing it, learning from the failures, making a few mistakes along the way, but not giving up, and just saying that we will only keep getting better. I feel that is something we could have we did demonstrate, or we still demonstrate with our business, and maybe that was something they saw in me. Uh, I don't I mean, I love to be very meticulous in terms of my processes, my attention to detail. And I think, saying that I'm a perfectionist was probably not the right thing to do. But I guess what I've realized is that the flip side of it, which is good for most people to have if they want to achieve something in life, is not to settle very easily with the first answer that somebody gives you, not to settle very easily with the first iteration of a product that we do, right? Believe that there is always going to be a better version out there. So I think that's something I've constantly worked with my team, my management, my different parts of my business. And indirectly, I think I've also done it with myself. I've never really sat on my laurels or felt that, oh, we've now achieved everything. I still feel we have not scratched the surface. And there's a line that I say, we are not a 35-year-old company, we're a 35-year young company. That's what I'd like to be known on. The energy, the passion of our people, and being able to drive this group of people, work with them, learn from them, and still realize that we have so much more to do. I think that certainly helped me a lot in my journey. Keep your head down, be at it, and just keep chipping away, because success never really comes in a continuous stream. It comes in sudden bursts, but after long periods of perseverance, intense efforts that need to be put in. And I feel all the other people with whom I was selected, whether the years before or the years later, and when I interacted with them, I could find that strong resilience, great self-belief, at the same time, very good people, people who know how to be with the people in their organizations. They don't think of themselves as above the people. They think they are there to serve the people of their organization. And that's something, a spirit which I deeply care about. So, yeah, I mean, I guess, I hope those are the reasons why I might have been picked. And yeah, and I think anybody, I'm not sure this is the greatest recognition anyone could have. There are so many other great people out there, but I think these qualities probably will help you get to somewhere good in life. That's a piece of advice or suggestion I can give anyone.
That's amazing. But the fact your answer just, tells me that you are also, in a way, never satisfied with anything. So that keeps you, eager to keep growing and keep getting more. And
Yeah.
that is a quality that even Alexander Hamilton had in him. So I
Thank you.
think that is a quality that makes
Thank you.
great leaders for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think you have answered this a little bit, but I will still ask my last
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
That, what would you say to B school students who dream of becoming CEOs before they turn 40?
See, I think as I said, I'm a little bit privileged in the sense I was part of a second generation. Although I was never asked to join the business in a more formal way, it was something I chose to do, and the
Mhm.
time and the opportunity was right. But I'm making the assumption I'm addressing more people who just are joining a B school or going to do the management studies and then going to go through the corporate ladder. I think the first thing that advice that I'd like to give to all of them is that be the first one to put your hand up, because you don't nobody ever is going to suddenly believe one day out of the blue, I think you're CEO material. No, what's going to happen is many a time difficult challenges, opportunities will be presented. Most people will tell themselves, I don't want to risk my career for this. I want to stay behind somebody. I want to be hiding in the group. Very few people put their hand up and say, I am ready to take on this challenge. I know I'll make a few mistakes along the way, but give me an opportunity, because anyway, there is nobody else. And I think more such opportunities you grab, you start doing two things. One, you start building a deep sense of confidence in your own abilities, because you do it for the first time, it's scary. You learn a little bit, you do it the second time, it's a less scarier, and by the third or fourth time, you actually want to do this. That's so I think that works very well. The other part is people notice you. People see that this person is ready to go outside their typical job description. They don't do a 9 to 5, right? They know that I'm turning up every day. I am here on a mission. And this organization, this place that I'm in right now, it's not just a stepping stone to my success. It's a place where I really want to make impact. Now I know you may not all people may not become CEOs of the same organization where they started. Few people do. I think recently in the last week or so, some great Indians have been appointed CEOs of global organizations, and they spent many decades in those organizations. But even otherwise, I feel each of those individuals, whoever they made to that position, I think they loved what they were doing. They didn't think too much. Is this going to get me my next gig? Is it going to get me a raise? Is it going to get me accolades? They just did it because they believed, Rolling Stones gather no moss, as they say, but definitely Rolling Stones that are out there defining, leading the charge are obviously going to be the ones that will make the most amount of impact. And when that impact can happen at an early stage in your career, I think, one thing leads to the another. And more often than not, you'll find yourself in real serious leadership positions. Of course, being a CEO is one of them, but there are several other positions that come along the way. But that common thread is put your hand up, be out there, don't be afraid, and express yourself through what you do. But don't do it with a limited objective. What am I going to get with this? Ultimately, what you'll get will be revealed to you at the right time, at the right place. That's how the world cosmically works. But grinding and being at it, I think definitely helps people. Many other people, young people I've interacted with who've achieved success, I could see this common thread in them. They always put their hand up and they never asked this question, what am I going to get for this? They just did it. And one thing led to another.
Right. So basically, to summarize it, love what you do
Yeah.
and also take initiatives.
Take
And
initiative. Take initiative.
that is
Absolutely.
amazing. It was so nice to hear from you, to, learn from your journey and all the advices that you shared. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for coming on Manager's Mantra and
Thank you.
sharing these unique thoughts.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. It was a real pleasure. Thank you so much. Take care. All the best to everyone. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Modernizing legacy, empowering people, and leading with grit. That's Abhishek's manager's mantra. Be Smart viewers, we hope this conversation added value to your career journey. Feel free to share your thoughts with us at bsmart.edit at bsmail.in. Follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram for more such insightful and inspiring content. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing.